Mr. Wheeler, you mentioned the rising house prices in Auckland, up 10% in the last year. How overvalued do you think the New Zealand house market is, and what might spark a potential drop that could expose households, as you've indicated you're concerned about?
If you look at various indicators of house affordability, if you like, then New Zealand seems fairly high by international comparison. And we did have, during the period, I think it was 2001 to 2007, we did have the most rapid appreciation in house prices in the OECD area. If you look at house prices relative to household disposable income, then that ratio hit 5 times in 2007. The ratio now is about 4.5 times, but that's quite a bit higher than what it was in the 1990s when it was 3 times. 3 times household disposable income. Now, Grant's talked about the tightness in the supply side of the market. We've seen migration impacts in Auckland as well. What could bring it down? I think concerns that households have over high debt levels. The funding environment for the banks is still not where it was prior to the global financial crisis. I mean, accessibility has improved, but the funding costs are still not down to where they were. So that's an element which could constrain them. Or if New Zealand had a significant terms of trade shock that fed through the economy. Now that's likely to be driven by a slowdown in the global economy, and particularly around China and others. So there are the sorts of things that could build in, lead to a correction in the housing market.
Do you think the housing affordability package the government released last week is going to be enough to relieve the supply side problems there, fast enough to avoid, another, or the risk of a bubble?
I'm not an expert on housing, but I think the measures, were certainly sensible. I mean, the Productivity Commission had a good look at housing affordability, and particularly comparisons with Australia. And one of the issues around regulation and the use of freeing up of land, I think, was an important factor. How to build greater productivity into the housing construction industry is something also that seems to be important. So I think it's certainly an important step in the right direction. But did you have any?
Well, I'd just add that in our forecasts, we are expecting residential construction to increase substantially over the next couple of years, and we're already seeing signs of that in increasing consents, building consents. And so, most of that activity is Christchurch and related to the rebuild, but also it's picking up in Auckland. So, that supply response, and as well as to the sort of policy, regulatory type policies that in the supply side package, we're also seeing the basic response to the higher prices and the pressure in the Auckland market, the actual supply side and construction activity picking up, which is a positive thing in terms of rebalancing that market.
Could I just confirm, in terms of overvaluation, do you have any numbers on it? And as a follow-up question to your last comment, Grant, that supply coming on, do you expect the house prices to fall in any way, or just level off?
We certainly expect the rate of increase to moderate, because in Auckland, house prices are picking up, getting up towards 10% increases. And, you know, that's part of bringing that extra supply on stream. But once the supply comes on, we would expect the rates of increase in prices to level off for sure. We don't have a particular number of overvaluation, unless Bernard, you have any observations on that, Bernard?
No, I mean, there's a wide variety of estimates out there, and it all depends on the particular metric we're looking at. But definitely, I mean, as Graham mentioned, I mean, on a historical comparison, we still look pretty overvalued.
In terms of... Okay.
Just in terms of that supply side response so far, I mean, the average value of a consent for a new house is something like 340,000. The average floor area is about 200 square metres. That suggests that the response is still very much skewed towards the top end of the market. Is that a concern to you?
I don't think we're close enough to the details to make observations on the composition of that supply response, but I would say it's really just getting going, and you know, we'll see how that pans out over the next year.